Hello and welcome to another Company of Heroes 3 game. My name is Fancy Josh. Today I've got a game for you between oziligath as our British and his opponent today is Makros as our Africa Corps. So, I had seen Makros in the tournament, Metaplays 5, which is going on this weekend. It's Sunday for me. And, Olvadi mentioned that he's friends with Makros, and I thought that was kind of cool, and I looked through my channel, and I only had cast Makros one time, so I decided to find a game of his recently, and found this one from a few days ago, and decided I would cast it here, and we'll see how good it is. Map today is going to be Twin Beaches. Now this map did see a change. Oh, and by the way, blue, that is oziligath. He just has a different name in this replay file. I don't know why. But yeah, Twin Beaches saw a small change last patch. They reduced the income of these 3 fuel points from 10 to 8. They said that's so that it's not overwhelming when you control all of them? Question mark? I don't know. The patch note didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I think they're just trying to reduce the total fuel income on this map. Which is kind of cool. By the way, I do like that they changed, like they added more variations of the values that fuel points can give. I think that's great for map design. The new 3v3 map, I think it's called Gabe's Gap, has like a 16 fuel point and a 12 fuel point, and yeah, it's cool. Like what they're doing there. Both players opening fairly standard here. Our Africa Corps player has gone for bike into 2 Panzer Grenadiers, and British player is opened with a Royal Engineer into infantry section, and I do expect we're going to see another infantry section shortly here. Is floating a little bit of manpower. That's interesting. Has gone for the Indian Artillery Battle Group, and is choosing... Okay, yeah, he's choosing to do a dingo here. I think he might have been waiting to see if there was a 250 in the opening from his opponent before deciding. But felt like obligated to go ahead and make the decision to add on the dingo here. Dingo, of course, very good against 250s, and if your opponent's going to get aggressive with a 250, it's tough to deal with that with just infantry sections. German player is going to walk away with 2 of the fuel points here. Going to be feeling pretty good about that. We're seeing barbed wire going down all over the place. Going to deny this heavy cover to his opponent. Needs to be a little careful with the vehicle there, though. He's going to force back the dingo. Infantry section on the way, as well as a Panzer Grenadier squad. And a little bit of quiet here. So oziligath does stream on Twitch occasionally, if that's something you're interested in. So recommend checking out his channel. Does that first-person view, you can learn a lot from watching other players play. Sometimes it's a little challenging when that player only uses the map. Because I'm not a map-only player. So, I don't know. If you're interested in that, definitely check it out. And fire support elements on the way here. No surprise there. Gonna see probably a flak half-track, I would imagine. This game has been very standard, I would say. Do love that Makros is throwing down field defenses all over the place, taking advantage of his opponent's, say, timidness, right? We're seeing our British player not really pushing in for a while there, but is going to do so now. Throwing some barbed wire down to make his opponent's life more difficult, but choosing not to engage with all of his units is a little bit odd. Royal Engineer is going to pick up this fuel point on the bottom side. That's a great little snag. Motorbike on the way to put a stop to that, though. Actually, German player responding in force. And nice little feint there. Oh, man, finding a mine, though. I'm going to say it's a nice feint, right? He drew in a bunch of units with that Royal Engineer, and now he's collapsing on this top fuel. Trade that back. Dingo fighting with these Panzer Grenadiers sitting in that heavy cover. Does need to be a little bit careful here. That's quite a bit of firepower for that vehicle to deal with. Our German player is clearly focusing it down. But it does seem like the superior firepower from our British player is going to win the day here. Though I will say that heavy cover doing wonders for our German player. Really, all our British player needs to do here is decapture, which isn't going to happen. Focusing those Panzer Pioneers, but ultimately going to be driven back. So nice attempt by oziligath to draw his opponent out of position, but a nice response by Makros to hold the point there. We did see a platoon command post on the way for our British player, and there is the flak half-track, flak filling as expected in the queue there. So, let's see, taking a quick stock of the fuel. I mean, oziligath's got a decent amount of fuel. We could potentially see grants here. That said, yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of manpower banked up, but yeah, I mean, he has a timing where it's possible to go for grants. And with Jaegers and a flak filling on the field already, it does feel like a Humber armored car wouldn't be such a great choice. But we might see it anyway, because high-level players are way better at using those fragile light vehicles than I am. Flak hitting the field here, and it is going to be a Humber armored car. And Dingo chasing away the motorbike on that bottom side. British player reclaiming his cutoff here after Makros denied that to him.
Heavy mortars are available to deploy.
A fairly stock standard game, I would say. But German player in a fairly dominant position. I think it's a combination of the motorbike and the good fights that we've seen him taking throughout that are facilitating this advantage here. He's going to walk away with all 3 field points here for a minute. Player using the Dingo to heal back up here. For those of you that don't know, does have this distribute medical supplies. It really saves on... I mean, you can get a medical station pretty early. Ooh, nice mine there, catching some of those Panzer Grenadiers on the retreat. Jaeger going to find this Humber armored car, though. Flak filling. Doing a little bit of damage, but not going to chase there. And yeah, just to finish that thought, you know, it's rather expensive to get a medical station as British, right? It costs valuable fuel at a stage where you really, really need that fuel for light vehicles, potentially infantry training, that sort of thing. And when you do the medical supplies from the Dingo instead, saves you quite a bit of fuel. Of course, it's a little bit micro-intensive, but that's what it's there for. Black holding back the Humber armored car while our German player secures this cutoff point, denying this bottom side fuel. Panzer Pioneers moving in to plant a mine, going to be found out by these infantry section. Does see it, going to stop before taking any increased damage, and that is an incredibly red map there. So, man, I can really relate to our British player right about now. I wouldn't say that I'm, like, you know how some folks are like, I only play a certain army? I'm not like that, but I do play a lot of British. Just because, I don't know, I like them. And I have been in this situation against Dak where I'm just like, bro, I'm getting run over in every area of the map, it feels like. I'm just behind everywhere. And you can see it on display here, just our German player has very clearly been taking superior fights and also using his superior mobility to be everywhere that his opponent wants to be. We've seen him actively slowing his opponent down as the British player tries to advance into certain areas of the map, right? And I'll point it out if I see it again, but it's happened more than once where a German player sacrifices one unit to take a less than favorable fight while he repositions his entire army, and it's freaking beautiful. And I think we could all learn a thing or two from this game. British player just spreading out on this bottom side. German player a little bit in full retreat here, just going to have to repair up that flak filling. But with 140, almost 150 fuel in the bank, German players in control of this game, I would say. British player adding on this 6-pounder to deal with the flak. Great choice. I think we're probably going to see another 6-pounder here very shortly. 2 6-pounders can deal with most threats for the next 10 minutes or so in this game, I would say. Of course, that's oversimplifying the situation, but my point stands that you really only need two and only 2 AT guns to get a lot of work done. Panzer Grenadiers closing the gap with that infantry section. Dingo helping out at maximum range, as is the Humber armored car. Gonna throw down a marked targets there, make it easier to hit some units. Grenade thrown in the retreat path of those infantry section before they had even decided to retreat. So nice little read on his opponent there. German player snagging up some territory on this bottom side. We do see some upgraded light machine guns on those Panzer Grenadiers, so going to increase their combat effectiveness against infantry, and a totally dominant performance here. Completely ran his opponent straight out of the middle. You see another infantry section on that bottom side, thinking about what they're doing there. And what do we see here? A mortar. Alright, so finally making use of his battle group there, calling in this heavy mortar. So, you hardly ever see the 4.2-inch mortar in 1v1s. See it quite a bit in team games, I would say. And I'm curious to see how it's going to do here. Now, mortars, of course, saw a buff across the board last patch, increasing the decreasing time to target. So rounds hit the target faster. I think it was something like 5 seconds, and now it's down to 2.5. So making mortars very, very good against better against everything. I mean, they are even okay against light vehicles if you're leaving your light vehicles stationary. And very cool, British player going for the Polston here. What the heck, dude? This is the second time I've seen it since the patch, which is saying something, because I literally have never seen this unit in a 1v1 before the patch. So very cool. Feels like it might be a little too late here. Am I having trouble seeing? Well, gonna just pretend I know what I'm talking about and move on. This is called a Polston, but anyway, moving on. See a Panzer Command on the way here. And a Canone. Canone? Oh, God. Alright, comments. Please help me here. Canone, I think. Howitzer. Very cool. Also something you don't see very often. I did cast a game with a Canone like a month and a half ago that I still remember, and it didn't end up making it onto my channel because I forgot to record audio, and I was so upset that I couldn't bring myself to do it again. But let me just say, very happy to see this in a 1v1. I think it can be very strong, especially in the right hands in terms of micro. And this game has really, I don't know, it's gone a completely different direction than I was expecting. AT grenade gonna cripple that Polston there. Anti-air truck. Humber armor car still alive here, actually marking that 250. Preventing the charge by the Jaegers here. The Jaegers might pick him up here, but the anti-aircraft gun doing a ton of damage. Oh, not quite gonna finish him off there. Wow, that was a little bit aggressive by both players there, or I should say greedy by both players. Polston barely surviving, and Polston going down with the Jaegers barely surviving. Could have gone either way. Howitzer continuing to do its thing. Now I'm under the impression that this unit can fire at anything in this arc, so it's like a support gun, but then it also has a barrage ability that can go further. So we're seeing it here, and actually has quite a range there, able to hit a lot of the map. But Does need vision for that to happen. Now, they changed the way vision of territory points works, so you gotta remember that none of these points are granting vision. You can see that here, right? This point is not granting vision. Of course, you can still see when your opponent is capturing one of the territory points that you control, but they no longer get vision of your units, so mortars, indirect fire won't automatically fire at units capturing your territory. And we're going to see armored reserves here for a German player. So it does look like he's beelining it for a Tiger. Is about 4 minutes away from that in terms of fuel. We could see something like a Panzer IV Assault Grenadier combination, but it does feel like our German can afford to wait for that Tiger. I wonder if we're going to see... I wonder if we're going to see the 5.5 howitzer from the Indian Artillery Battle Group. He has made it all the way up to the volunteer infantry, so he's getting that 25% discount on the reinforcement cost for all his units. Going to make it so that he can field a larger army. But with heavy tanks right around the corner, our British player needs a pretty solid answer to something like that. My preferred choice in a situation like this, when I don't have a battle group that's capable of dealing with Tigers, is of course 17-pounders. But that's one of... there are many ways to deal with those units, so we'll see what he ends up doing. Royal Engineers holding it down against these Panzer Grenadiers. Jaeger's going to push off this Humber Armored Car and AT gun combo there. And chaos ensuing here. The barrage keeping this area locked down. And infantry section don't care. Going to walk right into the line of fire there. Humber Armored Car limping away with about 1 health there. And nice control here by our German. Just completely dominating the map. Infantry section moving out into the middle here. But, oh man, mortar being found out here, going to eat a grenade. And it is probably going to go down there. No big deal though. British player can just remount that. But a triple cap coming in here, and it's going to be a pretty quick bleed for a British player, but he is going to pick up the victory point right now. And Gurkha's on the field. Okay. And that looks like, is that a, I think that's a Matilda. It is indeed. Getting better at those silhouettes. He said, messing them up at least half of the time. So Matilda Gurkha combo. So British player very clearly going to ignore the fact that he's been behind on fuel all game and focus on dealing with the infantry that's in front of him right now. And I don't blame him, but I think it's going to be a really painful realization when the Tiger comes out. We shall see. And Matilda on the field here, going to eat some shells from this howitzer. Infantry section on the side, though, doing pretty well. Black going to suppress those infantry sections. Gurkha's moving on to the point there. They have an upgrade coming. Not yet. Oh. Yep, not yet. Matilda pushing in here. Recognizing, I mean, we literally see one single Jaeger on the field. It's Vet 2, though. Oof. Engineers going down. Where'd that happen? Oh, man. Eating a shell straight to the face there, wiping that Royal Engineer squad. That's an unfortunate loss. Here comes the motorbike, of all things. Rolling into the middle. Deciding better of it, though. The Gurkhas are going to grab that top side, so reversing victory point control here. Howitzer barraging the main base there. It looks like they were actually aimed at the mortar. Infantry section trying to deal with this flak, but that's not going to go very well. 6-pounder moving up. Going to force him back. Jaeger's covering against this Matilda. Matilda has a ton of armor and health, so does not care. And I'm fairly certain that they buffed the Matilda last patch with a armor increase, question mark? Quickly pull it up here while we watch these Royal Engineers get totally shredded there. Looks like our, yeah, frontal armor increased to 310 from 280. So those are both already very large numbers. And I don't know specifically what types of weapons that would make a significant difference against. But more armor, more gooder. So that's what I'm going to go with. Didn't really seem to matter against the Jaegers at close range. And that's okay. Crusader, question mark? Yes, it is. Crusader on the way here. Trying to bolster his armored numbers here. I mean, it's impressive to me that oziligath has made it to medium tanks. He's had to be very patient with his fuel, very conservative with his fuel, and he really can't afford to lose any of these units. His house is actually saving the day against the artillery there, blocking some of those shells. Sorry, I'll stop focusing on the artillery arcs there. Matilda getting some great shots on those Panzer Grenadiers as they leave. He's going to roll into this area. More Panzer Grenadiers up top there. Crusader just now hitting the field. Love it if it could surprise this bike. Taking down that bike would be a big deal for him. Gurkha's moving out. And you think we're about to see a... Oh, there it is. Yeah, Tiger's on the field. I was about to say, I think we're about to see a Tiger. And here it is. So, yeah. I mean, our British player does not have an answer to the Tiger right now. He's got some 6-pounders. He's got a few medium tanks. And theoretically can outmaneuver the Tiger. But, gonna have a real bad time dealing with that firepower. We'll see how he makes it work here. So, there is another option available to our British player, the creeping barrage, which can be pretty decent against heavy armor. Like, in theory, if he got a perfect series of shots, he could do a number on it, but it's going to be tough. So nobody bleeding right now, so this game is going to continue on. Victory points looking very, very good for our German player. 17-pounders being researched here. Tiger moving in, unafraid. Just going to try and pick up, just try and get as much vision as possible. Heavy mortar under fire there. Infantry section having to bail out. Motorbike can immediately move in and grab that territory. Black actually looking like they wanted to hunt there a little bit, but deciding better of it. Matilda being kept way far back here. Wonder what he's thinking there. I think he needs that as close to the front line as possible. I will say that when your opponent dives you through this area, it can be very difficult to escape through here because they've got you kind of cut off. So maybe he was a little bit afraid of a cutoff coming, but now has vision of the Tiger again, so should know generally what's taking place here. Tilda helping out, sitting at max range against those Panzer Grenadiers. Love to see that. Oh man, mortar shell getting a great connection on the Panzer Grenadiers. Does look like they're going to escape though. 6-pounder set up, ready for the cross by the Tiger. 17-pounder nearly completed. So, British player feeling okay here. Sustaining a slow bleed on his victory points. Has units in position, has the tools that he needs. But gonna face tank Tiger here, 17-pounder rolling into position. Now, they did change towing, of course, this last patch. I've been absolutely loving the new towing. Feels way, way more responsive. 17-pounder going to get one shot here, but Gurkha's nearly going down. Should get one more shot. Doesn't have vision. Does have vision. Nice hit there. So anytime he can drive that Tiger back, buy himself some time in an area, that's going to be big. But ball is definitely in our German player's court, I would say. Matilda holding down this top side. I think this is a fantastic use of the Matilda. German player doesn't have any threats against the Matilda other than the Tiger. So by keeping this Matilda on the top side, it's forcing the Tiger to make a decision. And actually, he called the Crusader off the map with his refit vehicles. I think that was probably to get the 17-pounder out sooner. Very cool decision. I do agree with that decision as well. I think the Crusader wasn't going to get a lot done that the Matilda couldn't already. So, infantry section eating a huge shot there. British player still has not filled out his command tree here. Royal Engineers running for their life. Matilda holding it down. Just going to not let anybody control that unit. Is already Veteran C2. 17-pounder, where is it? There it is, setting up on this little ramp here. Mortar went down. Probably not in a bad spot, so it can be recrewed. 17-pounder, fortunately, hitting the ground here. Can't quite get vision. Infantry section holding down that bottom side. And a big push on the top side. Matilda just skirmishing with these Jaegers. It's going to be a little bit of a wet noodle fight. I think that ultimately favors the Matilda, though. And British player going to walk away with control of 2 of the victory points here, but not for too much longer as these Panzer Grenadiers move in. Looks like we need another Matilda, potentially. I've just been loving him camping that victory point with the Matilda. But, yeah, I don't know. We'll see here. It's always amazing to me when I feel like one player has a significant tech advantage. And like, this Tiger is just freaking scary, right? I mean, it can deal with anything our British player has. But at the same time, I don't know. That's the asymmetry of RTS, right? An asymmetric RTS game like this one is always going to have imbalances like this. And it's just amazing to me that our British player is in this game. And as I say that, losing his truck there is freaking really, really bad. Because now the 17-pounder is going to get decrewed. Attacking ground there by the 17-pounder. I don't know what he was aiming at. That apparently can see the bike there. Artillery coming down, trying to protect this Tiger. Trying to protect the 17-pounder, but that's a dead 17-pounder there. Wow. One AT grenade just turned this game on its head. Wow. And now, Panzer Grenadier is going to man the 17-pounder, turn it on that Matilda. Potentially, question mark, not going to happen, I guess. We are seeing an artillery barrage here. What is that? Is that that's the German artillery there. Yeah, the 305 barrage there. Going to destroy the 17-pounder. Makes sense, right? Doesn't want his opponent to recrew that weapon. Make him replace it. And things looking very, very good for our German. And I guess that's what I meant when I said I couldn't believe that our British player was still in this game, right? Is that he was riding a knife's edge, where the German just needs to control his Tiger against the 17-pounder, and other than that, there's literally no threats. While our British player has to manage every single one of his units very carefully to stay in this game. And to be frank, he's done a fantastic job. I mean, both players, very high veterancy units. But, game does look like it's favoring our German pretty heavily here. So what's our British player's plan? I mean, it's got to be another 17-pounder, I would imagine. But with a bunch of mines being placed down here, doesn't have minesweepers active. Does he have minesweepers? Can't tell from this view. He does have minesweepers. He was just in the process of repairing. So going to keep those sweepers next to his tank there. And, you know, German player doesn't actually control the victory points here. Tanks facing off here. They're in range of each other. They just don't have vision. Tilda just going to bounce right off the front there. Tiger actually missing, getting a glancing blow there. Tilda can take one more shot for his trouble. 17-pounder nearly completed. Flak moving in on the top side. Gonna drive back those Royal Engineers. Might get him on the way out. Not going to happen. Matilda in a really bad spot. Going to have to back all the way out there. 6-pounder helping out against the Tiger. But bouncing all those shells. Infantry section went down. Where did that happen? Yeah, right here in the middle, probably to that Tiger. 17-pounder is set up, but not in range, and is going to have to move forward here, but Royal Engineers unable to repair the Matilda support there, and this is looking really bad. Looking really bad for our British player. Here comes the triple cap. And the reason I say it's looking bad is this Matilda on 0 health with no compensation from that Tiger, and then losing the unit to the Tiger there. Surely that is going to be the end here. 17-pounder getting a shot in. Not quite. And unfortunately, mismicroing the truck there. And I do think this is the end of the game. Well played by both players. I mean, it was a pretty dominant performance by our German. But I think it was a valuable lesson, right? He took favorable fights. He controlled the flow of the early game, built himself up a nice lead, and then didn't overcommit into 17-pounders, didn't lose any of his units, had that perfect unit preservation. I think this is textbook Company of Heroes. And even managed to fit in some support units like the Canone. Sure, I'm saying that wrong. I should probably stick to Howitzer. Destroyed 2 buildings, 16 infantry. So you're telling me it destroyed one of these medical stations, probably? Looks like it may have also destroyed the heavy machine gun covering this arc here. So that's got to be annoying. And yeah, well played coming down. And oziligath is going to surrender there. So yeah, cool game. Let me turn on the MMR here. Just kidding, I don't have the app running. But both these players very highly rated. Actually, I am going to pull up the app for those of you that want to see it. Just takes me 1 second here. And it's not going to work. Sorry, guys. In any case, I could just tell you 1700 ELO for Makros and also 1700 rating for oziligath. So both players very, very even here. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next video.